Oh, I see. Topic.
Marcia Hermansen.
Great. Ah. Dr. Marcia K. Hermansen is a professor in the Department of Religious Studies, San Diego State University in California. She earned her PhD from the University of Chicago by submitting a dissertation. She earned her PhD from the University of Chicago by submitting a dissertation on the theory of the religion of Shah Wali Allah Dehlavi, Rahmatullah alayh. A linguist of par eminence, Dr. Hermansen studied, trained, and researched 10 languages, which are Arabic, Persian, Urdu, Punjabi, French, Spanish, German, Dutch, Turkish, and Bahasa Malaysia. Dr. Hermansen is the recipient of several prestigious awards and honors, including Fulbright Research Awards and a Fulbright Lectureship. She has to her credit scores of research articles and publications on Sufism, Muslim women, and the study of religion and religious experience. I'm pleased to present Dr. Hermansen. The title of her talk.
Use this one. The ladies can't hear you.
Oh, I see. The title of Dr. Hermansen's talk is Shah Wali Allah and Devotion to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So you have to this one and this one.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin an-Nabi alami ummi wa alihi wa barik wa sallam. In today's presentation, in honor of the Milad an-Nabi, I will give a brief talk on the role of the Prophet, may peace be upon him, in the thought of Shah Wali Allah of Delhi, a great Muslim scholar who died in 1762. Shah Wali Allah was also a Naqshbandi Sufi, with links to the Naqshbandiya Mujaddadiya Tariqa, as well as to many other Sufi orders. He is not only respected as a Sufi, however, he was a translator of the Quran, hadith scholar, legal expert, and reformer who is respected by all segments of opinion in the Muslim community. For example, we don't need to mention that in India and Pakistan, he's considered one of the greatest scholars. He's respected by all branches of Muslim opinion. Ahl Sunnat, Al Hadith, Deobandi Hazrat, and even Abu Ala Maududi has written articles in his honor. His works have been taught in Al-Azhar, and they are being studied in Malaysia and Iran today, and not just in India and Pakistan. Shah Wali Allah wrote a number of books, many great famous books, and some of his lesser-known books, which I'm going to mention today, which are not always mentioned by the scholars. Some of his lesser-known books specifically concern the topic of devotion to Rasulullah. May peace and blessings be upon him. Examples of these books, for example, there is a book called Fuyud al-Haramain, the emanations of the two holy cities. There is a qasida, Atyab Nagham, the best of the melodious recitations in honor of the Prophet. There's a book of reports of the Prophet called Ad-Dur al-Thamin, the precious pearl. This devotion of Shah Wali to the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, is shown also by the fact that he translated very early in his life from the Arabic language a biography, a seerah of the Prophet, which had been written by Sheikh Abdul Fath Muhammad ibn Muhammad. And this has the title Surur al-Mahzun, the hidden happiness. Some of these works, which I'm going to mention in my brief talk today, refer specifically to practices of devotion in honor of the Prophet, may peace be upon him. And they include mention of the celebration of the Mawlid by Shah Wali and by his father, the Naqshbandi spiritual guide, Shah Abdurrahim Dahlavi, who died in 1719. Others of his works reflect the process of communication which went on between the Sufi and this blessed spirit of the Prophet, may peace be upon him, during his dreams and his waking visions. Fayud al-Haramain was composed early during his career, and it reflects a tradition of the Naqshbandiya Mujaddadiya Sufis when they used to make the pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina, the Haramain. When they came back, they and their disciples would compose books of all the dreams and visions and insights about Rasulullah, which they had received during the blessed time of the pilgrimage. So in this work, Fayud al-Haramain, Shah Wali tells many of the experiences that he had. And from these experiences, we know that he experienced the spirit of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he experienced him in the relationship of a spiritual guide. It was as if he could speak to him, he could get guidance. And one of these, I translated a passage so you could hear the words of Shah Wali. And this is the translation. This is Shah Wali speaking here during his pilgrimage in the year 1144 Hijri. Before this, I attended a blessed Mawlid in Mecca in honor of the birthday of his honored presence. May the peace and blessings of God be upon him. And people were reciting salutations, and they were remembering the remarkable signs that surrounded his noble birth and the visions which preceded his mission. And then Shah Wali says, and all of a sudden I saw lights, and these lights flashed, and I can't say whether I saw these lights with my physical eye or whether I saw them with spiritual insight. Wallahu alam, God knows better which of them. But I reflected on these lights that I saw, and I found that they came from the angels who are in charge of such gatherings of Milad and Nabi. And he saw that the lights of the angels are mixed with the light of mercy from Allah Ta'ala. And there are other reports that he specifically performed the Mawlid himself. For example, quote, as was my old custom, on 12th of Rabi al-Awwal, I read the Quran and I had food distributed. And then he reported on the blessing of doing such actions, which comes from the angels and from the spirit of Rasulullah. And in the second volume of his most famous work, Hujjatullah al-Balagha, the conclusive argument from God, he has a chapter, the chapter of ihsan, the chapter of righteousness. And one of the ways of ihsan is zikr. And one of the forms of zikr is sending blessings on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he discusses several of the well-known hadiths about this practice. Shah Wali writes, the Prophet, may the peace and blessings of God be upon him, said, quote, hadith. Whoever sends one salutation to me, I salute him in return 10 times. And the closest person to me on the day of resurrection will be the one who sent the most salutations to me. Shah Wali Allah writes, the inner meaning of these hadith is that we have to turn to the divine state. And there's nothing more effective in turning towards Allah than turning towards the light of Allah, as Allah is drawing near to us all the time. And we can turn to the rituals and the emblems of God on earth and open ourselves to receive them. And we can reflect on them deeply, and especially on the spirits of those who have drawn near to Allah. And those who have drawn near to Allah, they are the best among the highest assembly. Who are the highest assembly? The angels, the saints, the prophets, and the intermediaries of God's generosity to the people of the world. Remembering the prophet, may the peace and blessings of God be upon him, with reverence and seeking Allah's good things for him is a sound means of turning to God. And it prevents deviation in religion, because one is remembering the prophet only to seek mercy for him from Allah Ta'ala. The spirits of the perfected ones, once they have separated from their physical bodies, are unshaken by the changing will or the chance motive, while the souls below them can become attached to these perfected ones through concentrated zeal, through himmah, so that they become clothed in light from them. And this is what is expressed by his saying, by the hadith of the Prophet, upon him be peace. And the hadith is, there is no person who sends salams to me, but that God returns my spirit to me so that I can return salams to that person. And this is hadith in Darimi and Ahmed ibn Hanbal. We have this hadith. So these experiences of Shah Wali Allah are recorded in Fayud al-Haramain. And in this book, he has the Prophet as a spiritual guide, and he asks the Prophet many questions about the troubles that he experienced in that time in the 18th century in India. So many groups were quarreling with each other. And Shah Wali Allah was not just speaking about the Sufis. In these visions, he says that the Prophet told him to give great honor to the ulama, to the muhaddithun, and to many others in the community who are working for good and for knowledge. So the spirit of the teachings of the Prophet was to restore unity in the ummah and to try to honor and all of the groups and to moderate disputes so that Muslims could be united. And Shah Wali Allah continued, he tried to work for this unity during the rest of his career. Now I'm going to briefly mention another of his works, the one Adur al-Thamin, the precious pearl. And this is rather unusual, although the Sufis do this sometimes. I don't know if you've heard of these kind of works. The Sufis compile a kind of special report, special hadith that they receive from the spirit of Rasulullah, peace be upon him, in dreams. And Shah Wali Allah collected 40 of these ahadith, which he experienced from the Prophet or his father, Shah Abdur Rahim, or his teachers in the Haramain. And I'm going to just quote two of these. One, he received a special darood, a special salutation from his father, and he wrote, "My father, Shah Abdur Rahim, commanded me to do the following salutation on the Prophet. May the peace and blessings of God be upon him." And that darood is, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin an-Nabi al-Ummi wa Ali wa barik wa sallim. And then Shah Wali Allah said, and I recited this salutation in a dream, and I saw that Rasulullah, peace be upon him, approved of this salutation. Then he gives a report from his father again. My master, my father, informed me saying, on the Mawlid days, I used to have food prepared in honor of the Prophet, may the peace and blessings of God be upon him. But one year, I didn't have any food in the house. All I found were some chickpeas, some chena, hummus. And so I fried those chickpeas and I gave them out as part of the Mawlid to the people. And then later I saw Rasulullah in a dream, and he had the chickpeas in front of him, and he was smiling with delight. So I was thinking of that story, and I was thinking of all the beautiful food that we had today, and all the blessings that those people who cooked the food and gave the food and distributed the food must be receiving for doing such a great action in honor of the Prophet. So those are just two of his works. In his other works, he also mentions so many times devotion. He wrote a poem, Atyab an-Nagam, which is in praise, also a qasida, in praise of the Holy Prophet, may peace be upon him. The title of this poem means the best of melodious recitations in praise of the master of the Arabs and the non-Arabs. And I'm just going to quickly, a few of the themes he mentions in the poem. It begins invoking the Prophet in the difficult times that we are living through. And Shah Wali was writing in the 18th century in India, and he felt that this was a time of great darkness, of great threat to the ummah. And he begins his poem, Rasulullah, we need you. We need you in this time. So in our time today, I think we can still have the same feeling. Then he mentions all of the things during the poem that one does in honor of Rasulullah, peace be upon him, mentioning the dala'il, the evidence of Risala, of the Prophet's life, mentioning the shama'il, all of the virtues of the Prophet that we heard about today, his humanity, his temperance, his nobility, his zeal, his courage, his forgiving nature, his patience, his asceticism. And so he honors in this poem Rasulullah, may peace be upon him. I'll conclude with a final quote from another work of Shah Wali, a well-known work, At-Tafimat al-Ilahiyya, Divine Understandings. And he's discussing the practice of sending salutations on the Prophet. And the quote, Shah Wali writes, "Praise be to God, Lord of the worlds, salutations and blessings on our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and on his family." If somebody was against sending salutations, that person might say, there's no benefit in sending salutations on the Prophet, peace be upon him, because the meaning of sending salutations is seeking mercy or ennobling somebody or confirming that person. And the Prophet has already reached a limit that cannot be passed. So why should we send any salutations? Shah Wali says, I say, if somebody gives that argument, this is opposed to the hadith, because the hadith says, whoever sends salutations to me once, I will send in return 10 times. Therefore, the benefit of the salutation is to return to the person who sent that salutation. So this practice must be continued. And of course, those opponents today give even many worse arguments why one should not send salutations. From this brief introduction to Shah Wali and devotion to the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, we learn that Shah Wali, like all the great Muslim scholars, both advocated and himself practiced sending salutations to the Prophet, commemorating his noble birth, and experiencing him as a living presence and a spiritual guide. May Allah grant his mercy and blessings on all who have gathered here today to honor the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa shukran.